The debate is on. Nike versus Reebok, Netflix versus Hulu, the Niners versus the Cowboys. Who are you going to pick? The two latest connected rowing machines are here, and there's a real good chance that you've been advertised to if you've been looking for rowing machines by either Hydrow or Ergatta. Two unique connected rowing machines that are offering wildly different experiences. Let's take a look today at what are the differences, what you can expect, and what you're going to get from each of these machines. The machine you usually see me on is a Concept 2. It's kind of the tried and true Toyota of rowing machines. They hold their value well, they repair easily, and everything is done so simply that you can do most repairs yourself. And in fact, that's kind of what they want. They just want to make a good rowing machine that stands the test of time, and they've done that very well. But Concept 2 is not really interested in making a technological jump. They want to make great hardware, and that's what they do well. You look at the Concept 2 monitor, and it's basically open source. They'll let anybody build something on top of their monitor. It means that there's a lot of competition in the space. The machine is never really going to change unless Concept 2 decides so. So what's happened? Well, other machines have begun to jump into the marketplace to siphon off parts of the market depending on who you are. For example, if you look on Amazon, Sunny Health makes rowing machines that are in the, you could say, the bargain price range. So $300 or under, and there are tons of machines that you could choose from at that price range. They are just saying we're going to be the low cost provider of rowing machines. And then you have your higher end of the market, which is where Ergatta, Hydrow, and a couple other players come in. But right now, these two are really vying for that top spot. You're looking at identically priced machines, both offering a connected experience. Well, what does that mean? Well, they're offering you more of an in-depth, beautiful experience one way or another. Now, they do this in very different ways. So today, let's explore these two machines specifically. Let's take a look at what's different, how they do it, and what you're really getting when you buy in. Number one, with the Hydrow, you have a large, bulky, modern-looking rowing machine. Now, this thing is intended, in my opinion, the way they built it, is that it's intended to sit in the middle of your living room, to never move, and to look a bit like a piece of art that is there. I would say like you're very modern looking, but man, this thing is heavy. It's 140 plus pounds. It's cumbersome to move. And that's because all of their resistance and whatnot is built in as basically a computer run resistance machine. So there are just a lot of components living in this thing. And not to mention, you've got a much bigger monitor, 22-inch monitor on this versus 17.5 on the Ergatta. Now, let's talk about the Ergatta. Ergatta built obviously very different on the build here. They are using a water rower as a base. So you're seeing this water tank here. Yes, it is a water rower. They didn't just copy water rower. So this is a water rower. It's made out of cherry wood. It's beautiful. In my opinion, this is a very nice looking machine. It folds down. It's much lighter. This folds down. You would look at this almost as a piece of furniture. So you wouldn't even maybe notice it sitting in the corner. Whereas this, you're definitely gonna notice it. It should probably stay in one place almost at all times, but they're making two different statements. Hi, we're a beautiful piece of furniture. Hi, we're a big modern piece of art. Two very different philosophies, and just something to know. With Hydrow, they're trying to put together an on-water rowing experience that would mimic something that you might see in a studio environment. For example, I go to a rowing studio or a spin studio, and I'm getting that like coached through. Somebody's motivating me every step of the way. The coach decides the playlist with 95% of their workouts being done filmed on the water. So you're getting what is the experience that they're trying to emulate what it could be like to row on water. On Ergatta, what you are looking at is almost a video game experience here. There's no avatar. They're not faking rowing. They're not trying to create a studio experience. What they're doing is making beautiful data visualization. So imagine a Concept 2 data-driven style workout, but it looks much prettier. Really beautiful colors through different experiences in the way that they show you stroke rate and split and different ways that they actually program your workouts. The other way to see the differences between them is that with Hydrow, you are seeing more of a show up to sweat experience. With Ergatta, you are getting a show up to progress experience. In this instance, you are getting the majority of your programs built so that you can make progress. They have you calibrate the machine, they track your data. All of the workouts are altered, and your every 10 workouts, your splits are adjusted based off of your performances. That doesn't happen with the Hydrow. What you are getting is simply a show up, get a sweat on, and have some fun while you're at it kind of experience. So just for my own personal, that is what I've noticed between these two as the way that you're actually going to experience your workouts. So let's talk about the actual mechanics of each machine here. Now on the Hydrow, you're getting, as I mentioned, that digitally driven resistance. What that results in is definitely a more connected path of resistance all the way through your stroke. You're seeing a nylon strap on both of these machines. Handles are very similar, foot stretchers are similar, seats are similar, so there's not a whole lot of difference there. Instead, the difference is going to be in the way that the machine feels. It's interesting, but I would say I can almost feel that digital resistance on this, that computer-driven resistance that's happening here, versus on a water rower. Now, I, in the past, have kind of always knocked a water rower for the fact that it's a water-driven machine, and the only way you can change resistance is by adding or removing water to this tank, plus you have to add chlorine tablets to it to clean the water occasionally. It's definitely a factor, that's something to consider. And so with what happens here is you get a bit more of like a jerky sensation as you move through the drive, because that flywheel is spinning through real water. So does it feel exactly like rowing on water? No. But does it create a more interesting sensation? Yes. And what I've found over my time using these two machines is that I'm actually gravitating towards enjoying the feeling of the water rower more than I'm gravitating towards the feeling of enjoying the digitally driven resistance. And that surprised me, frankly. That's not exactly what I was expecting between the two. But from that factor, I do enjoy the resistance and the way that this feels on the Ergatta differently. Sitting on top of the Hydrow feels a bit like you're more elevated off of the ground. You feel like you're sitting on a very substantial machine. Obviously, it's very heavy, so it feels very solid underneath you. When I moved through the stroke, it feels similar in the way that the foot stretchers are seated on the machines, in that they feel almost too high. I find myself having to take the foot stretchers down from where I would normally set them, or where I'd advise people to set them. Normally I say put the strap across the widest part of your foot. But on both of these machines, I find myself putting the straps almost across my toes. It feels like it creates an impinged hip at the catch position, and it just feels like too tight for comfort for me. That feeling is very similar. Now, where they differ, the foot stretchers on the Hydrow significantly wider than on the Ergatta, and that's one of my knocks on the Ergatta, is it feels very compact. The handle feels narrow, the feet feel very close together, and I just feel like I'm a big guy in a little coat on the Ergatta. Again, I feel like I enjoy the resistance experience here, but when I sit down, my legs are very close together, which creates, pressure issues. I feel like I'm big on the machine, and I don't know how else to explain that other than I feel big. On the Ergatta, there's plenty of room. The handle feels wider, the feet are set wider, so you definitely feel like you have more space to move. Now, interestingly though, the weight allowance between these two machines is significantly higher on the water rower than it is on the Hydrow. So there's something to consider there as well. The Ergatta is able to handle somebody who is heavier. You sit definitely higher on the Hydrow than you do on the Ergatta. That probably lends to Ergatta's feeling of being able to kind of put this machine up and out into the corner. It doesn't feel like it's eating up the entire room, and that's where the furniture piece comes into play. So you sit lower to the ground, it feels less obtrusive. All in all, just my feeling on user mechanics, I gotta give my victory to the Ergatta here over the Hydrow. I just haven't enjoyed the actual personal experience of sitting on the Hydrow. The resistance feels a little bit off to me, and the machine just feels too cumbersome for my personal liking. On the Ergatta, I enjoy the user experience more, but I do have that knock of everything feeling almost too concentrated. I mentioned that position issue that I had as far as how compact it is. You can see I have maybe 2 inches between my feet here, and this is, I'm sorry. And then on the handle, things just feel pretty narrow. Now, there are some benefits to that. When I'm actually rowing on the water, I do have my hands fairly narrow together, but again, I'm also a sweep rower usually, so that means that I'm using one handle and it swings out to the side. So it makes a slight difference, but overall, I'm pretty happy with the feel that I'm getting here. You can see how close I am to the ground though, so I'm certainly not that low to the ground, but there's also plenty of clearance on the machine. I have maybe 4 inches off the back of the seat, so plenty of room for taller than me, and I'm 6'3". And again, it has a good weight capacity on this machine. Let's talk about the actual experience on the monitor here. What I love is the way that they've actually broken this down into just very beautiful colors. I love good visualizations, and they've done a really nice job of that. The first time that I sat down on this machine, I created my user profile. They encourage you to calibrate this machine. And that's what I say, they are creating an experience where they want you to show up and they want you to progress as you use this machine. And they're measuring that, checking it, giving you feedback along the way. That calibration workout is a 2K, unfortunately, for those of us who understand 2Ks. That was a rude awakening the first time I jumped on the machine. But with that done, every workout done is broken into different zones for me. And now on this monitor, I can actually go into my dashboard here where I can see what my intensity zones are. And they're broken into paddle, steady, race, and sprint. It gives me a range of what to hold so that inside of my workout, it may give me an X stroke rating and X split, and I have to hold those two. I like that because that's inherently how I program workouts for you guys anyways. And they give you really beautiful ways to see whether or not you're hitting that. And that is the thing that I like. As I've been using this machine, I do notice that there's a delayed sensor here. Sometimes it'll take 7 or 8 strokes at the beginning of a workout, sometimes even 10 it feels like, before the machine actually catches up to my stroke. And that's a little bit confusing for me. And then as well, sometimes in the middle of workouts, I find that the stroke rate and the split just kind of drop off, like the machine all of a sudden can't read what I'm doing for 3, 4, 5 strokes, and then it catches back up and it'll come back to my stroke rate and my split. That's inherently frustrating for me in the middle of a workout. These guys are regularly releasing updates to this machine, so I assume that that's something that could be repaired. Again, it's a new machine that's new to the market, having some glitches, that's probably part of what's to be expected. Now, inside of this, I get to see my workout history, which is nice. I've got my dashboard so that I can see all of my workouts that I've done, and they can be broken down by my distance, the splits that I had, and all of that. That's the dashboard, and I like that. I like being able to track all the workouts that I've done. Now, push programs they're periodized programs, and that's like what we would offer with the crew, where you choose, I wanna get better at 5K, and they say, okay, well, great. Here's a 5K program, you choose that, and inside of that 5K program, you have 10 workouts, and you have to do them in order, which I like. You can't just do any of them. You gotta start at number 1, and each one, I presume, builds on top of the last, and therefore you can improve at your 5K distance based off of those workouts that they program. So again, that gets my check of approval there because I think that's a really great way of progressing. Then you get into the interval-based workouts. So inside of those interval workouts, it's going to program for you whether you're gonna hit a split, a stroke rate, or a hybrid of the two. And I like that. You can pick it. You can say, you know what, today I wanna work on a split workout. Okay, great. You can find one of those. You can find the amount of time that you wanna work out for. Boom, it programs it for you. Tells you exactly what zone to be in and for your split because it knows it's calibrated your workouts. And then again, every 10, it recalibrates, so on and so forth. Then you go into race workouts. Inside of here, you are racing other people that are of your caliber, and that's super cool. So it picks people who are of your level of performance, and it lets you race them inside of a workout. And that's pretty awesome. I think that's a really fun way of going about it. And again, the way that they are racing you is that you see this beautiful data in front of you. It's not like they're trying to create an avatar. They're not trying to make it look like rowing. They're just making this really beautiful way of seeing how you're performing over the workout. And then as well, you get open rows, and that's, again, you just choose what you want. Now, other small notes on this is that inside of each workout, you are able to connect to Bluetooth headphones. Simple enough, both machines do that. Differently though, on this, you choose the music that you want to listen to. Because there's no coach, they're not creating a playlist. What they have done is partnered with a radio platform, and you simply choose what kind of music do I want to listen to inside this workout. It's just the music that you get to listen to, the screen tells you what you need to be doing, and boom, you're away, you've got a great workout. I think inherently, as somebody who has used a data-driven workout for almost my entire existence, that's probably where Ergatta gets me, and that's why I like it. If you've used a Concept 2 and you're used to staring at those numbers, you may gravitate more towards the Ergatta because you like that experience. You know what the numbers are telling you, you're used to that kind of feedback. They just do it more beautifully, right? And that's pretty cool inherently inside of that. They also offer challenges, and again, they're constantly pushing new updates. Because they're connected, they're able to send new updates, just like Tesla or whatnot sends updates to your machine, and it's constantly improving. Now, I wanted to take a few more strokes for you so that you guys can actually hear what the machine sounds like. Both machines are very quiet, so you're not really dealing with any kind of noise factor, but I do want you to hear what you're getting on the water rower Ergatta machine. So now directly comparing that to the Hydrow. Now, the Hydrow is definitely a big modern piece of art that is attempting to emulate Peloton. Hydrow's trying to be the first Peloton of rowing. And what they do with that is they give you the class experience or the trainer experience. And so you are following a coach who is rowing in a shell on the water. They are talking you through the class. They're telling you what you're going to do. But there's really no tying your actual performance to what's happening on the screen. You have leaderboards on the side, as both machines have, and you will climb the rankings based off of how you're performing, but really that's the only kind of metric that it is tracking for you. The rest of the time, it's not pacing you against yourself. If you're the kind of person that likes motivation from a coach or a studio experience, somebody sitting in front of the class, then this is definitely gonna be what you gravitate towards because that's all you're getting. You know, probably in the 90-ish percentile range of their workouts are all rowing. But what they offer that I haven't seen on Ergatta is you do get some off the rowing machine work. So here you can get some, some yoga work, some strength work. The way that this machine feels to me, it feels a little, almost too resistive, if that makes sense. It holds too much, I guess, is the way that I would put it. It's almost like I've got resistance all the way through to the very end, almost as if I were doing like a weighted row at times. Now, of course, what you're looking at when it comes to your programs, you're not really getting the same like progression programs. They do have, they call programs, but they're more just like they've kind of piecemealed other workouts that they have together and just put them together into a program. It's not a linear progression style. So if you're looking for a guided program, you're not gonna get that with Hydrow, but they have live workouts. So for example, it looks like 10 minutes, there is a live workout starting here and I will be able to go join a live workout. So if that's something that appeals to you, then that is absolutely available here versus haven't seen something like that on Ergatta. You can also sort this by location. So again, experience-wise, you kind of have to decide what is most for you, and as well, you end up generally gravitating towards coaches that you might like, and you're gonna take more of that coach's style class. It's that Peloton model, right? Now, when we get into the library of workouts, you're able to sort it by the coach, by the duration of time, the workout type and location. So, if I choose workout type, you've got drive, sweat, and breathe, would be beginner, intermediate, advanced, all of these things that I was mentioning earlier. And then you can sort by location. I think they still need to work on their location function because it's Boston, Miami, or everywhere else. But they do have almost 2,000 workouts that are available on here. So there's no shortage. Here you're able to race, which is interesting. So you can create micro teams and that allows you to compete. There's a workout every single week that's posted. You have a feed function. I feel like this is a bit redundant and not really necessary. Essentially, it just shows you all the people that are doing workouts. It's kind of the community driver, but it doesn't feel incredibly strong to me on that. Then you've got progress where you can see how well you've done. You can see the workouts you've done, how you performed, your total meters, your calories, things like that, and your profile. So that's kind of that Hydrow breakdown. And then when it actually comes to the movement piece, again, you've got the wider feet. So I definitely feel a bit more comfortable on this machine. I feel like I just have more room to move. So that's the one area where I feel like, yeah, Hydrow is definitely giving me a little bit more room to move here. And it's still a very quiet machine. There's next to no noise as you're rowing this. Handle gets carried a little bit higher on this machine as well, based off of where the handle inserts into the machine. So handle carries a little bit higher. My feet are wider, so it maybe gives me a little bit more of a feeling of access to power. And you know, as I mentioned that, the thing that I maybe have noticed as I've gone through the workouts on the Hydrow is I feel I almost get zapped of power, and that might be because my feet are a little bit wider than I'm used to, and it forces me to, instead of finessing, I would guess that you're gonna make that decision based off of what feels better to you as an athlete sitting on the machines. So apples to apples, I want you to be able to hear what this machine sounds like, but again, they're both whisper quiet, so you are definitely going to get the nice quiet experience here that you won't necessarily get with the Concept 2, where you're getting that flywheel sound every time. So let me go ahead and take some strokes so you can hear what this thing sounds like up close. It's important to note again that if you are interested in a Concept 2, you're probably not looking at these two. You're not gonna sway from being a Concept 2 user necessarily to buying these machines. This is for the person who's new, is interested in rowing, and wants to go to that high-end price point. And that is awesome. I love that there are opportunities up there for you. And so with you being interested in those, look in the description below, because I've got links to both of these, so you'll be able to find out more. You can actually compare specs to specs there. And with that being said, I'm also curious to know, which is the one you're going to gravitate to? Why will you choose one over the other? And if you already have one, what has your experience been? And while you're busy clicking those links below, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it so that you get alerted when I come out with new videos on these, comparing them to the Concept 2, all the different ways that we can shuffle these around and help you understand what is the right choice for you to make.